There's a lot of
That was the pencil. I don't have as an agenda. I'll just use that one. I'd like to call the Village of Biddleville Council meeting to order. Rhonda, may I have roll call, please?
Mike Kramer,
Here.
Steve Baldry,
Here.
Robert Bishop, Richard Hamilton, Mackenzie Peters, Kevin Smith,
Here.
Ann Williams.
Here.
The only one I've heard from is Mackenzie. She's been with the other two are.
Yeah. Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to excuse the 3 missing council members.
Support.
I have a motion with support to excuse trustees Peters, Bishop, and Hamilton. Any further discussion before we vote?
No.
Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Everyone should have a copy of the agenda in front of them.
I will make a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Support.
Oh, you got it. You can have it. I have a motion with support
You're closer.
to approve the agenda as printed. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
One note on the consent agenda, I did realize when I was going through my paperwork today, the bills are on the consent agenda, but the bills were not in the packet. So they are on your table.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed.
Support.
We have a motion with support to approve the consent agenda consisting of the approval of minutes for the regular council meeting of June 11th, 2024, and the approval of bills as of June 20th, 24 for $148,107.20. Rhonda, may I have roll call, please?
Kevin Smith,
Aye.
Ann Williams,
Aye.
Steve Baldry,
Aye.
Mike Kramer.
Aye. Motion carries.
Mr. Hamilton is on his way, and I didn't hear back from Mr. Bishop.
All right, we're at public comment. If anybody would like to speak, please take the podium.
Good evening. I'm Cheryl Lewis Blake, and I live in Rutland Township, but I'm a volunteer at the Commission on Aging, and I'm a board member. And so this evening, let me ask a couple questions of you. If you could live anywhere, where would it be? If you could age anywhere, where would it be? Would you opt for a warmer climate? Well, not today, right? Live with family? Move to a facility? It's interesting that years of study have shown that the goal that most older adults have is to age in place in their home or in a community that supports senior citizens. And so for Berry County residents, the organization that supports seniors is the Berry County Commission on Aging. And so the mission of the COA is to provide innovative services and resources to promote and support independence, dignity, and quality of life through the journey of aging for seniors and for seniors' families. And I had personal experience in doing this because my father had dementia and spent time with us, and he participated at the COA in the day program, and it made an enormous difference in his quality of life. So as a baby boomer, we have longer life expectancies. There's declining birth rates in Berry County, and there's kind of this new demographic phenomena that's known as the white tsunami. I just heard that like a month ago. And we're actually striving at the COA to meet changing needs of the senior population. So you might say, oh, that's fine, Cheryl, that's fine. Tell me about a couple of services. So we have Meals on Wheels, adult day services, that's what my dad was in-home care, and all of the services that are at the COA have been supported by a millage since 1991. So that's my purpose this evening, is to remind everyone that in August, voters are being asked to renew, notice I'll say renew, the millage, and it's 0.4665 per year. There is an increase of 0.0335 to restore the amount that was reduced by the Headley Amendment. So what does this mean for, the average taxpayer? Well, the renewal and override will cost the average homeowner less than $3 in additional taxes per year. And so total taxes levied to support senior services would be less than $45 a year. So in appreciation of, I think, most citizens' shared mission to support seniors, I respectfully request your support, this group august support, the Older Citizens Millage on August 6th for the COA. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Courtney Zinni, Executive Director, Commission on Aging. I've been in that role for going on 2 years now. So I wanted to come, and we do have a fact sheet that I'd like to share with you guys. Some of you may have already seen it. And I also brought some of our new quarterly newsletters. So I will share those. But the fact sheet tells about our services and what is provided annually. But I wanted to break that down, and I think you may have heard some of these numbers before, but I wanted to share them again. So for Village of Middleville residents, in the last 6 months, we've had 4 residents that have used our restaurant card over at Thornapple Kitchen. We've had 2 that have had appointments with our Medicaid and Medicare Assistance Program counselors. We provided over 350 hours of in-home care service with Middleville residents. And we have provided nearly 500 home-delivered meals to homebound seniors in the area. So I did want to share those. I also wanted to thank you for allowing us to use the pavilion for our ice cream social. That was 2 weeks ago. And we had an amazing turnout. It was super fun. I know that's like a great descriptive, right? Super fun, but it really was. So we served over 60 people. Carbath Village brought a busload down, and we put together succulent plots. We just really had a good time conversing and gathering together. So we gave away over $300 in Market Fresh coupons. So those are to be used at farmers markets. And we signed up 2, and I think it was actually 3, but I had documentation of 2 new users for the restaurant card program. So very happy with that turnout and those that came out. And so we appreciate that support, and looking forward to doing other events and partnering in other ways. So can I hand these to you? Would that be okay?
That's okay, we'll straighten it out. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? All right, we move on to reserve time. Ms. Getty?
Good evening. Little update from the county. We unfortunately had to spend $220,000 for the replacement of our courthouse chiller, which is our air conditioning unit. So that went down at an inopportune moment. It is about as hot as we got last week. We renewed our insurance coverage that covers our liability, vehicle, physical damage, property and crime. And let's see, what else did we do? We did approve our professional services agreement with the Berry Conservation District to do a study on the spongy moth, formerly known as the gypsy moth caterpillar, has been wreaking havoc across the state and certainly here in Berry County. And we've heard about a lot of damage, definitely in more severe in some pockets. The study will be done in the month of October, and it will determine whether the gypsy moth, spongy moth caterpillar are on the rise or on the decline, and then can inform some decisions about whether or not we pursue spraying some quadrants. For those of you that have been around a while, it wasn't too long ago that we did spray some areas. That is done usually with property owners' ability to opt out if they don't want their property sprayed. It's determined in blocks, and then as an assessment for those property owners. So would not be something that the county would fund, but we could facilitate it. We heard our annual audit and approved that final report this morning. So good news, the county is in fantastic financial shape, very clean audit, and that it will be available for those that you want to read it. And we did appoint Brenda Schinnebarger Howe to serve on the Berry Community Mental Health Board. She's a retired social worker and psychologist. Was really quite a fantastic candidate for that position. We did only have one candidate, but it was a great candidate to fill that role on the committee. And a couple other job reclassifications that the Personnel and Human Resources Committee reviewed, and then we approved this morning at our commissioners meeting. Any questions about what's happening with the county? I might add that our posting for a new county administrator is out there, and we used a brochure to go with it. It makes Berry County look as great as we all know that it is, and hope that we can really recruit a strong candidate for that position. Questions, comments, concerns? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Eric Thompson from PCI. And Mark, I'm assuming? Okay.
Good evening. Thank you guys for having me here. Doug has expressed that the village council may have some interest in establishing a rental program to inspect, register, and kind of monitor the rental housing that you have in your community, and asked me to come in tonight to speak on that a little bit. PCI, we currently have 3 cities that have rental programs in place that we currently administer and conduct all the inspections on. The city of Hastings has a very successful program, as does the city of Hudsonville, village of Hudsonville. And the city of Alvin just recently onboarded last October. So it's an area that we do have some experience in. Rental programs are tough to administer. And the big thing about it is what we need to establish what the needs of the community are and what the goals of the program would be for you. The biggest thing we're looking for is to ensure that the community rental housing is safe. We don't get involved much in the affordability of it, but the biggest thing is that it's there and it's available and it's safe for people to live in. So those are the main areas of the program that we focus on. Typically what we do is we do them on a 2 or 3 year cycle. Unless there's complaints, then of course we inspect based on the complaint.
We work very closely with those communities on establishing what properties could be rental units. And so we reach out to the landlords on your behalf. We ask them to register. We verify whether or not they are a rental program. We get them enrolled into the program. We're in a process of automating all this to try to make it as seamless and easy as possible on the landlords. We're using our information system to look at expiration dates, generate notification emails. So we're really trying to make it as simple and as painless on the landlords and on the tenants as possible. So the basic things we look for, like I said, are life safety. We're looking at the general conditions of the home, the HVAC, the electrical, the plumbing systems to make sure that they're in safe, good working order. The common things we're seeing are, missing handrails, missing smoke detectors or carbon monoxide detectors, open junction boxes. We're not inspecting for the way people live. And that's one of the things I think most communities are most afraid of when they hear this or they think about it is, are we going to come in and tell people how they have to manage their household? And that isn't the case. If it's a safety violation, if exits are blocked or means of egresses are blocked, we're going to address it, but we're not telling people how to live. So that's one of the big things that people are concerned about. Other than that, is there questions that the specific council that the council may have?
So, essentially, you came in a few years back and helped us out with a lot of residents that had issues with construction problems.
Yep.
And now, if you go on social media, a multitude of these houses are being advertised as rentals.
Mm-hmm.
So the concern is now you have tenants in these houses that don't really have a say
Mm-hmm.
with the same problems, the same construction flaws, and that's basically what we're after is a registration program for rentals so that we know where the rentals are and basic safety inspection. So if the foundation's cracking, water's pouring in, they can call you and they have a resource to be able to lean on the homeowner to try and get that fixed. Something of that nature.
Yeah,
Not how they live, just making sure they have safe living.
That's
facilities.
exactly what our goal of the program is. Of course, we can modify that to suit the needs of the community that we're representing in this, but that is the basics of the program. That's exactly what we do. We work with your staff to identify these homes, usually through assessing records. If you got a single family dwelling and it's non-homesteaded, that's a good place to start. Obviously multifamily dwellings, then there's a number of multi-unit dwellings in the city that we know are rental units. And so that's where we start. We try to establish them. We look for the ads online, reach out to those property owners, inform them of the program, and we get them enrolled in the program.
Well, let's be honest. The way people live oftentimes proves how the house is going to be maintained.
That is a very true statement.
So
Yep.
when you say how they live, essentially it's in the background or in the foreground.
If the way they live,
Honestly.
if the way they live constitutes a violation of the codes that we're enforcing, then they have to be corrected. We can't tell them that they got to do their laundry or clean their
All right.
carpets. But if, the example I use, if the way they live blocks a means of egress in and out of the home, we're going to make them correct it. If the way they live has their smoke detectors and their junk drawers because the battery died, we're going to make them correct it. But we can't tell them to do their dishes.
What's your participation rate in the communities you serve?
That's always kind of been an unknown because we think we get them, and especially when we start and to onboard a community, we paint a pretty broad stroke, and so we're going to send out maybe 250 letters, and we're going to get 100 people angry calling us up, say this house isn't a rental unit. Okay, so we kind of throw out a big net and hope we catch something. So Hastings and Hudsonville are the most successful programs right now. Like I said, Allegan is pretty new. I would say we're got to be in the 75 to 80% range. I would like to think, we'll never know for sure, because we don't know it's a rental house unless, like I said, it's non-homesteaded or the tenant calls and complains. So, we don't have a whole lot of metrics to measure by. That's a great question.
Administratively, what are the other communities charging for registration? Because it's not like we're looking to make money in this. It's just to make sure our constituents have safe housing.
The price that we provided you, did you guys get the proposal?
Doug probably has it. I don't think it's made.
Okay,
to us
Doug
yet.
has it. So we charge a $50 registration fee. That's the first time we register a building. That's not a per unit fee.
Okay.
And then we charge $65 per unit to inspect. And we recommend that we do this on a 2 or 3 year cycle.
Pretty reasonable.
Yeah, you know, this is a service that we provide to our community partners. We're not in this for the money either.
Anybody else have any other questions?
And this, your first inspection is when the homeowner says, come on in and take a look. And
Yeah.
then you would go 2 or 3 years from that point.
Yes. Yeah, unless there's complaints from a tenant, in which case we have a protocol established where, you know, the biggest thing when there's a tenant complaint is to hear both sides of the story. So we'll hear out the tenant, we'll contact the owner, make sure that there's a communication between the two of them, and we respond appropriately. You know, we want to give the landlord an opportunity to make the corrections that the tenant's complaining about before we have to involve ourselves. So the other vital thing to the success of the program is the community's willingness to back us up and to follow through with the enforcement. Because if we were to implement this, you will have a number of people that fail to comply, they fail to register the units, they fail to schedule the inspection, or they fail to correct violations. Our letters can only do so much. It's going to end up being on the village to proceed with the enforcement and initiating the legal action that it would take to bring that into compliance. So this is really a partnership in this endeavor, and we can only be as successful as you let us be.
I think the biggest thing I like hearing is that Hastings has this program, so you don't have to go very far to borrow the administration
I've
stuff.
reviewed your guys' ordinance too, and I've provided Doug my comments. You're in really good shape right now with what you have. It's nice and neat and clean, and I really like that. It's not ambiguous, it's not confusing, and it's not 4 pages long. It's straight and to the point. I think the biggest thing you need to do is add a reference to the code that we're going to enforce, which would be the current the current International Property Maintenance Code, and establish a timeline. So yeah, you guys are actually in real good shape as far as that's concerned.
8 years well spent. Any other questions?
No.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for having us.
Thank you.
All right. We have no petitions and communications. We're on to ordinances and resolutions. Resolution 2414 to set a public hearing to vacate a portion of Lafayette Street. I'm going to say again, because this isn't the first time we've vacated a portion of Lafayette Street. Is there any left?
There's a little bit left. So in this one, is kind of an unusual situation with the background too, because looking through county records, it looked like this was indicated as a gap parcel, as if this previously was vacated. However, there was no record through the village council's minutes that this has ever occurred. There have been no action, being that the development at the 611 Grand Rapids Street, when it was previously approved, part of the improvements were done within this unconstructed right-of-way. That's what led to the request to schedule a public hearing that you see before you today.
So after this, how much is left?
So this area here is looking at the north half. Rhonda, would you mind scrolling up to the resolution?
Where the credit union used to be?
It shows Exhibit A. The picture? Yeah. The picture does wonders. So if you're looking at the image, the north side is what is being requested to be vacated. The south side is still listed as public right-of-way. Beyond that, there may be portions to the east of Cider Mills, but that would be the only other section potentially.
The south side
available
is
to
where
the
the
public.
water main is, correct?
The south side is, that's correct.
Okay. The only concern I have is that if we vacate all of it, it's no longer Lafayette Street. Bradford White no longer has an address.
Right.
And any comments, questions, or concerns, and gladly, prepare responses to once a public hearing is scheduled.
Scroll down, scroll past it. Okay, I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing to consider vacating a portion of Lafayette Street.
Support.
We have a motion to support to schedule a public hearing to consider vacating a portion of Lafayette Street. Any further discussion before we vote?
Did you say resolution 2414?
I did now.
Okay.
Any other discussion before we vote? Hearing none. Rhonda, may I have roll call, please?
Kevin Smith,
Aye.
Ann Williams,
Aye.
Steve Baldry,
Aye.
Robert Bishop,
Aye.
Richard Hamilton,
Aye.
Mike Kramer.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, we're down to council and staff reports. Craig?
Good evening. Hopefully everybody had a chance to read my report. I just have a couple of additions. The committee formerly known as the Solid Waste Oversight Committee is changing the representation. It's going to be called the Material Management something committee. I don't know. Anyway, so instead of having an appointed official from village or city represent on that committee, it's now asking for an elected official. So if anybody would be interested, let me know. I can put your name out there, but Friday at 9 a.m. in Hastings, if anybody is interested, let me know. If not, I will let them know that you're not. So just reach out, text, email, something like that if you're interested in that. Secondly, that I sent out everybody a copy of the MERS actuarial today. So take a look at that. So we moved from 80% funded as a community to 88% funded as of the end of 2023. So that that additional deposit did make a huge difference in our funding level there. So, and then I'll reach out to their representative, see if they can come and do a full report on that for you at some meeting in the future. So
Good. Okay. Very good.
any other questions?
That's very good.
All right.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
Mr. Powers?
So you have my report before you. Just to recap on a couple things. A lot of this looks similar to what you've seen at the joint meeting, but regarding some conversation and comments that were made, just from a survey efficacy standpoint, when the TAPRC 5-year plan was done, there was about 50 to 60 participants for a survey there, where there was approximately 60 to 80 for the village master plan. Beyond that, the 115 High Street is supposed to be going to the Plan Commission's next meeting. That'll be after the MCOW meeting. Just so everyone's aware that, the other items are just listed as notes. Don't have a terrible amount of updates to share unless there's specific questions. But the one comment that was brought up by PCI earlier, just to reiterate, this hasn't been presented to the legal counsel as of yet. But there was some potential suggestions they were making to changes to the ordinances pertaining to rentals. However, we do not have a housing appeals board, and there's numerous other things that would have to be addressed before something like that was pursued.
It's good to have the info. We can have a discussion at MCOW and see where we sit with it before we move any further with it.
Okay.
Any questions for Doug?
That's good. I just been asked what's going on with the Designware building? Is that going to come down? The old Designware building?
So it's owned by a separate party that the land bank has been trying to look into different opportunities to see whether or not that building can potentially be included to the demo of the existing building. I hope, remind me if you do not hear before, but at the next council meeting that I come to, I should have better information.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Doug. Next, we have Mr. Pergler.
You should have my written report available. I took 3 days off over the week, so it's a little bit shortened. Or over the month. Do you have any questions, comments?
Peddlers.
Yes, there are.
Thank you.
I had specific run-ins with 3 of them, 2 from the same company. And explained to them the rules and invited them to leave the village, which they really don't take no for an answer.
Yeah, no, there you go.
But
I
that's
guess-
about the best I could do.
I guess my main question is, peddlers, like people selling stuff versus people asking for donations. Like, are they considered peddlers? Like,
These were specific commercial peddlers that were in the village.
right. So people coming though and like
Yeah.
at my business asking for donations. Are they
I'm not,
considered? Can I say
unless they get
you need a
reported, I would
permit?
never,
You would never. Okay.
no.
Okay. Just verifying.
No, if somebody says they're bothering me, I might
Sure.
have to look into it at some
Gotcha.
point, but
Okay. So I have to report it then. Okay.
It's more for those people that go door to door and try and sell you gas. It's not for the gas company.
Or oranges every
Or,
year. Oranges.
I got one for you.
sure.
I appreciate your work you've been doing. I have a neighbor across the road that's
Oh.
mowed his grass 3 times now.
Well, I'm not, which direction across the road is one question, but,
East, the one to the south.
okay. They're renters and I can't even get a hold of the landlord. It's an issue. We're working on it.
But you won over Dan, so.
Yeah.
That's good.
Anybody else? Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. James.
Good evening, council. In front of you, you have my report. This Friday, we have our first TIF pop-up engagement. This is part of the plan that we signed off on to renew our TIF with Williams & Works. We will be at the pavilion 3 times this summer. So our goal is to have the community come out and give us their input on what they want to see downtown Middleville. Music and Market have been up and running for 4 weeks now. They've been successful with high attendance. And in our July meeting, 30 minutes prior, we plan to have our mid-year budget update open to the public and all of you if you're interested in coming. And additionally, our new granting programs that I've been working on writing are finalized and ready to be shown to the board. We had to reschedule a special meeting for tomorrow as we did not have a quorum at our regularly scheduled meeting this month. Does anyone have any questions for me?
What's the, just out of curiosity, the 2 new grant programs, when it says to better assist small businesses, what is that? What's the nature of that?
Yeah, so our current granting programs that we have are, we have our sign program and we have our facade program. So our current facade program is a 1-to-1 ratio match, which means that as a business, you can get up to $10,000 for a front-facing facade within the DDA district, given that your business also invests $10,000. However, it's based on a reimbursement process. So that would mean a small local business in our district would have to have up to $20,000 upfront to invest in improvements. With these new granting programs that I wrote and modeled after other communities and people I talked to in different districts, they're much smaller, but there's no matching. So the goal is just for the DDA to assist businesses as much as we can. If we have money in our budget that we already have set aside to work on creating better aesthetics and keeping our downtown looking lively, then we should use those funds to do so. So the goal with this new program is to help more businesses and use the funds that we already have budgeted, maybe in a way that they can be better used and served for our businesses. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Liaison reports. They scheduled the library committee meeting on a day that they didn't tell me. They didn't tell me they rescheduled, so I missed that. And I hit a deer the day of the last DDA meeting, so I didn't make it to that one, but the DDA was here. So the only other one was Mackenzie, and she's not here. Anything from the planning commission?
Doug just gave it.
Doug just covered it. All right, moving on. Can you scroll down for me, please? The other side. I didn't grab
Oh, sorry.
the agenda. Thank you. So we have Bradford White Corporation request for golf carts.
This is coming back. Mr. Myers was here a couple meetings ago and asked permission to utilize golf carts for their event on August 8th. So this would be a formal request to allow that to happen.
Mr. President, I would move to approve the request from Bradford White to allow golf carts on August 8th, 2024 on our public streets.
Support.
We have a motion with support to approve the request to allow golf carts on specific village streets on August 8th, 2024. Any further discussion before we vote? You want to say anything?
No.
I don't have a problem with it because I know Bradford White has more than enough liability insurance to cover anything that happens.
Yeah, but people look at stuff and they say, well, they can do it. And they don't look into whether or not they have, no one looks at Bradford White and goes, well, yeah, they got a lot of liability insurance that could cover that. I don't know. It's not enough of a concern to block this, so.
Fair enough. All right. Barring any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next up, as you know, we asked to add HCB, High Point Community Bank, to our list of depositories. But in order to make them our primary financial institution, we did a separate motion doing that, and also included who the signatories would be on that. So that's in front of you.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve, establish HCB as primary financial institution for the village of Middleville.
Support. We have a motion with support to approve High Point Community Bank as a primary financial institution for the village of Middleville and authorize Craig Stolzenberg, Laura Meyer, Ayala, Rhonda Van Polen, myself, and Kevin Smith, the signatories on said account.
Should probably
discussion
have.
before we vote.
No, no.
All right, Rhonda, may I have a roll call, please?
Sure. Kevin Smith,
Nay.
sorry. Ann Williams,
Aye.
Steve Baldry,
Aye.
Robert Bishop,
Aye.
Richard Hamilton,
Aye.
Mackenzie Peters. Oh, sorry. Mike Kramer.
Aye. Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Powers, to discuss our public participation strategy.
And what better place than at a public participation gathering? So for anyone that doesn't recall, on June 4th, we had a joint session with the Village Council and Plan Commission where we discussed the public participation strategy, as you see in the draft document before you, which is also included as part of your packet. There were a couple comments, questions, or concerns that were addressed as part of that meeting, where I took that feedback and made corrections to this document, and that's what you see before you today.
Doug, I just had one question. I think we covered it. But when we said the township, that assumes we're covering the fire department and.
So I believe you're referencing the list of key stakeholders. So yeah, we tried to detail that in regards to where it didn't specify businesses, but just types of business or industry. So in reference to Thornapple Township, general umbrella to the governing body.
And all their organizations.
Yeah. And this is just, the key stakeholders is to give someone an understanding. for representation of the community, because like I mentioned, a lot of what you see in regards to the communication toolbox, what the expectations are for public engagement, for site plan surveys, workshops, zoning amendments in the downtown, what have you. A lot of that is regulated by the state. There's some flexibility in those regards, but this is just giving someone an understanding as to what the expectations are, along with you to understand what you should be expecting from any of these bodies, when and how and where we should engage with the public.
It's always great to have this in writing. Well done. So it looks like a lot of work.
Thank you. Well, we needed to make changes because the previous document was a list of the various bodies in regards to what they had done, where you receive that as a governing body on an annual basis at a minimum. This at least gives you the toolbox or, a grading system to say whether or not any of these boards are actually doing what they should be doing.
It's fantastic. Mr. President, I would ask that we approve the draft public participation strategy.
We have a motion with support to approve the draft public participation strategy. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Ann.
Mr. President, I would like the consideration of appointing Joe Mancini, my dad, to the DDA board. There's still an opening. He's applied, I think I was submitted January. He was previous member. He was extremely active previous member, being when Miss James was not here, he did the farmers market. He did so much. He was at every meeting, and I think his application is being overlooked. And I know the DDA board wants him on there also, and I would like the consideration.
Okay. Well, I made my recommendation. It was turned down. So until we get new applicants, that's what it says.
So you're not considering his application?
I took the most qualified candidate from the pool of applications and I recommended him. And
Okay.
it was turned down twice.
Why is he not qualified?
I didn't say he wasn't. I said there was somebody more qualified.
Explain who that was.
That was David Sklarn.
Who does not own a business or work in Middleville.
It is Mr. Beck.
We're not speaking of Mr. Beck. We're talking about
No,
Mr.
but
Mancini.
both those seats are open and that was the seat that I was going to put him in. Because he has development experience,
So
a lot of
even
development experience.
though Mr. Mancini has all the requirements and has been on and has proven.
Yep. That was the recommendation I made. It's not changing.
Mr.
So-
President, just as a point, to make the point, I believe there were two candidates that you had recommended.
One was appointed. Yep.
And the board decided that the second candidate was not approved.
Yep.
So that there's still two empty seats open.
Yeah, so we can repost the position.
Typically, in a scenario like that, wouldn't the consideration be that we had a pool of applicants? Wouldn't we just go to the next qualified candidate in order to fill the seat rather than having two open positions? And again, we're speaking about experience and participation and the locality of the individual having already been plugged into the community. I'm just curious, other than personal preference, I think the board was fairly clear that we wanted to collaborate and work with the DDA openly. And we're not doing that in this moment. And granted, the state of Michigan, the law states, just I'll save your breath. The law does state that you have the ability to appoint, and that it does rest in your hands. But I think
So
when
in the
we're
effort to
acting
call
in
this
a-
back to order, I'm exercising my right as president to make the recommendation. I did. It was turned down. So when we get a new pool of applicants, I will make another recommendation.
Can I ask a question to Mr. Nettleton, please?
What's that?
Can I ask a question to Mr. Nettleton? Okay, so I was directed to the Act 57, Section 204. Members shall be appointed by the chief executive officer of the municipality. I can't say the word. That means
Village president.
village president. Okay, I want to make sure. Subject to approval by the governing body. So
Village council.
village council, that's what I was saying. So if we are a board and each one of us have a vote, how can the village president be the only one that can make a decision for all of us? Then we do not have a vote unless it's his choice and his choice only.
It's the equivalent of the president and the Senate. So the president nominates officers to certain positions.
Okay.
He has that power of appointment. It's up to the Senate to confirm and approve that appointment.
Okay.
If there isn't Senate confirmation, there is no appointment. But the Senate can't take on that appointment power on its own. Okay, so that's the analogy.
So does the Senate collaborate with any other people? Like, this is above my realm.
Yeah, so I would answer it this way. So legally, it's, as I've explained, as council understands, it's the village president's prerogative to appoint.
Correct.
It's the village council's prerogative to either approve that appointment or not. Practically speaking, is there an opportunity for collaboration? Sure. Either input from the DDA, from the village council, from, members in the village, right? And other businesses. But is it required by law? No.
So there is no other options for us as a board to collectively make this motion.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
How does the analogy of the Senate impeaching the president? We're using analogies.
Sure.
Well, I'd have to break the law.
There is no analogy.
Okay,
Council's without authority to remove its members.
I think the best, the most, I think the board would have would be if Mr. Kramer happened to do something egregious and then we could censure him. I think that's about as close as you can get to an impeachment, but that in and of itself is a different.
Yeah, well, I read Joe's application and I think the guy has a great desire to serve. So I think we really should consider him.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion before we move on?
What?
You gonna reread his app?
Already did.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion?
Yeah, I do.
Sure.
We have these two open positions on the DDA. It says one position must be filled by a resident of the downtown development district. One position can be filled by a person having an interest in property in the downtown development district, resident or business owner, manager, employee of business in the district. What's it gonna take to get these positions filled? I'm not trying to be naive, but I don't get it. What do we gotta do to fill these?
I don't know. We're gonna repost it and see what we get.
We've never unposted it.
There we go, it's still up there.
One position a person has recently been unqualified for that position. What's happening with that?
I don't know. We'll figure that one out when we get it. She's still a person that has interest, whether she doesn't have financial interest anymore, but the business is closed, so then at that point, she.
But she does not have qualifications.
So then she'd be the resident at large that we don't have.
She's not a resident.
No, she's not even a resident.
Not a
So then
resident.
She probably would be disqualified from the board. We're down a member. So we'll have to post again. We have another spot to post.
I would like to say that I'm extremely disappointed.
All right, well, duly noted. At this point, if there's no further comments on that, I would like to make a motion to meet in a closed session pursuant to Section 8H of the Open Meetings Act to consider material which is exempt from disclosure under Section 13(1)G of Michigan's Freedom of Information Act. Mark Nettleton, village attorney, is hereby appointed as secretary for the purpose of taking minutes of the closed session in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. Anybody would like to support?
Support.
Support. We have a motion with support. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none. Rhonda, may I have roll call, please?
Ann Williams.
Aye.
Steve Baldry.
Aye.
Robert Bishop.
Aye.
Richard Hamilton. Mackenzie Peters. Dang it, sorry.
It's okay.
Kevin Smith.
Aye.
Mike Kramer.
Aye. Motion carries.
Need to give me a minute to.
Take a short recess. while we-
Yeah.
I think you should read everybody, even if they're not here.
Any-
Yeah,
Excuse me,
closed session.
aren't we out of
We
it?
can't talk about.
Yeah, but we don't
can't
talk about closed
it. But I
It says
agree.
eliminating redundancy. That's just a general.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, there was,
You should cut me off before I could say what I wanted to say.
just
We're
making
just
sure.
tiptoeing. We're just tiptoeing.
Is it teamwork or what?
That's right. We're all here for each other, pal.
All right, that's, good meeting.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Bishop?
I went to the COA event with my mother at the pavilion here. She's one of the people that signed up for the restaurant card and market coupons. It was a kind of a cool event. Got to meet Mackenzie's weird looking dog.
She's not here to defend.
She's a favorite dog, huh?
Oh. Well, that Seamus one, that looks like,
She's a great dog.
he looks like Dobby the house elf.
Sits in my lap when I go in to talk to her. He jumps on my lap. and looks
If you
up the
give him
window.
a sock, he's gonna run away. No, he's an adorable dog, but he's one of those, you look at him and you go, ooh, what is that? But,
Yeah.
no, it was a good event. I liked it. That's all I've got.
I'm not saying anything, so thank you for your time, thank you for your patience.
Can I just, one quick reminder, forgot to mention, the registration is open for the MML conference, if anybody, with the exception of, well, in addition to Mr. Bishop wants to attend, September 11th, 12th up on Mackinac.
And Rhonda has something to add as well.
I thought I had something else, but I can't remember. Go ahead.
Fair signups?
Probably.
Fair.
Fair signups?
Oh, fair. That wasn't what I had, but yeah, fair. No, community exchange. I have a couple of you that have not said yay or nay. I don't care if you're yay or nay, but I need to know if you're yay or nay. So if you have not told me one way or the other, please let me know as soon as possible so I can start firming up how many people I have. So I have transportation,
nay.
food, etc.
Have
So-
you heard from me?
I don't have in front of me who I heard from. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you
Okay.
heard from.
I know I heard from
That's
you.
what I thought.
I'm not sure if I heard from you. You're a nay both times?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Oh, and then I'm gonna meet with Lee Young in this near future to explore different opportunities around Main Street. So, and Kevin, and I'll talk to Mr. Kramer to see if he's available, but might be tough.
Between the hours of 3:30 a.m. and 6 p.m., probably not.
Got it. So, all right, that's all I had.
All right. Now, thank you for your time, thank you for your patience, a motion would be in order.
Mr. President, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
We have a motion of support to adjourn. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
I heard you, Greg. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.